Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have climate change. I know some of you don't want to hear about this one, but it is always on the list of predictions for years to come, and we're just starting off with it and getting it out of the way. The climate is a delicate thing, and our presence here on Earth has a great effect on it. The climate can make our lives significantly easier, or it can make our lives significantly harder, so it really is something that is important to note. 2021 saw both heat and cold records broken, and it saw its fair share of natural disasters, floods, and fires. It is predicted that 2022 unfortunately won't be much different, sadly, which is not what we had hoped for. There aren't necessarily any exact predictions surrounding the climate, it's just the idea that we will continue to see some of the most extreme weather we have ever seen. In our number 9 spot today, we have the climate war. Speaking of the whole climate change thing, this is a prediction for 2022 that comes from Nostradamus. There's a couple more of his predictions on this list today, so if you don't know, Nostradamus was a man who lived in the 1500s, and he was an astrologer, poet, and what is called a seer, as he published a book of quatrain poems that are said to predict future events, and some of these predictions have actually come true. One of his predictions he has for 2022 is, quote, "Under the opposite Babylonian climate, great will be without the outpouring." I read that and didn't know what it meant either, but some people smarter than me have come to the conclusion that this is a prediction about the start of a climate war. It is said that this war is going to be a result of a lack of resources, and whichever country is involved is going to begin attacking the country next to them to try and gather their resources. Who knows if this will come true? I guess that's why it's called a prediction, and if it were to, who knows what countries would be involved. In our number 8 spot today, we have an economic recession. It is very obvious that the entire pandemic and last few years have had an unprecedented effect on the economy. I know every country is in a very different phase right now, and a lot of people have different mindsets, but I can say, as a Canadian, every time we start to get somewhere where things are opening back up and they feel like they're on the right track, everything just gets shut right down again and we're back in March of 2020. The constant opening and closing of businesses is definitely taking its toll on the economy, as well as travel restrictions affecting tourism, general anxiety causing people to not go out and spend their money, all the Amazon packages. The pandemic has flipped our lives completely around, and the economy has taken a big hit because of it. This is exactly why people are predicting that in the new year we will see an economic recession. I hope this one really isn't true, because people all over the world have struggled enough for the last couple of years. In our number 7 spot today, we have the glacier. This is a prediction that comes to us from Baba Vanga, the late Bulgarian mystic and clairvoyant who has made a series of predictions, some of which have eerily come true. One of the predictions of hers for this year is a bit of a strange one, and considering our current global climate, this is one we are all definitely hoping isn't true. She predicted that this year an ancient glacier is going to melt due to global warming, which is probably a decently accurate prediction, but she also said that within this glacier will be a virus, and once the glacier melts, this virus will now be released to the world. The worst part is that this is said to be a virus that humans simply cannot handle. This isn't where her predictions for humanity end, so I'm not exactly sure how she expects us to recover from that, but I'm just gonna wait and see, I guess. In our number 6 spot today, we have a world power. Back with another Baba Vanga prediction. This one is a little murky as to what exactly it means, but there are some theories. She apparently said that the year will see 3 giants unite and a strong dragon will seize humanity. Remember how I said exactly what this means is a little unclear? People have speculated that perhaps the 3 giants could be 3 of the most powerful countries, maybe the United States, Russia, and China, but seeing all these powerhouse countries unite would be quite a shocking prediction if it were to come true. There are others who think that maybe the strong dragon part is in reference to some country rising into a more powerful position than we've seen before. At this point, who knows exactly what the next year is going to hold, but I think it's pretty safe to say that anything can happen. In our number 5 spot today, we have a conflict. Nostradamus was busy when it came to predicting things for 2022, so here's another one of his best guesses. He wrote, quote, "Of blood and hunger greater calamity, 7 times oppressed to the marine beach, monarch of hunger, place taken, captivity." Yeah, again, another one I simply did not understand, but it is apparently basically saying that his prediction is that 2022 will see an increase in world hunger due to the increase in armed conflicts. That's like a double whammy of terrible. As a result of this uptick in hunger, there will also be more movements in terms of population. I'm talking about more people immigrating to other countries in order to escape these terrible conditions. He doesn't seem to mention anything in the prediction of which countries he thinks will be affected or where those fleeing will make their new home, but that would be pretty freaky if he somehow had the ability to name all of those specifics. For now, we can definitely take this slightly vague prediction and just hope it doesn't come true. In our number 4 spot today, we have locusts. This Baba Vanga prediction might actually be pretty accurate because it's something that has been seen in the past and something that has been quite a relevant issue in the last few years, especially in 2020. Baba Vanga has predicted an apocalypse-style scene in India where she believes swarms of locusts will be next year. Like I mentioned before, in 2020, India was dealing with the worst swarms of locusts that were seen in decades, so it's entirely possible that 2022 might be an absolute nightmare for them as well. There are plenty of reasons why this poses a major problem, but one of the main ones is that those bugs can absolutely devour food and they reproduce fast. Lots of quick, hungry bugs is a really huge dilemma for farmers everywhere, and a couple of years ago this issue was really impacting crops. Hopefully next year won't see these same issues come back. Like I've said before, people have dealt with enough in the last few years. In our number 3 spot today, we have catastrophes. This one kind of goes hand in hand with number 10 on this list that we started off with, climate change, but this one is just getting a little more specific and is actually about natural disasters, more specifically earthquakes and tsunamis. Another Baba Vanga prediction, she was able to predict the 2004 tsunami, so this 2022 prediction is made all the more eerie. She claims that in 2022 we will see an increase in multiple different kinds of catastrophes, but especially earthquakes and tsunamis. She then went on to explain more about who she believes will be hit the hardest and which places will be impacted the most by the severe weather. She said that several Asian countries as well as Australia will be seeing intense bouts of flooding. Nostradamus also had a prediction for 2022 regarding this, except for his, he predicts that Japan is going to be seeing an earthquake that is going to appear in the middle of the day. Part of this is a good thing because the timing of it will potentially minimize the human loss, but he does make it clear that he believes the material loss will be great. These sorts of things are very scary to think about because there isn't really a way to predict them for certain, and there is really nothing we can do about Mother Nature. In our number 2 spot today, we have Paris. For one last Nostradamus prediction for this list today, we have this super worrisome one. He apparently wrote, quote, "All around the great city will be soldiers lodged by fields and cities." This is said to mean that for 2022 he is predicting that Paris will be under siege. For what reasons? Well, that remains unclear. There are other ways to interpret this prediction, like perhaps it's more so stating that the city will just be kind of closed off for a while, but truly, who knows? I wish the people who made these predictions were a little more direct with them, but hey, who am I to critique Nostradamus? At the end of the day, the good news is that this is just a prediction, and Nostradamus has been wrong before. It just puts people on edge to hear these scary thoughts, which totally makes sense. I wonder if Nostradamus predicted that a random Canadian would be here talking about his poems into a camera to upload to the internet for thousands of strangers. In our number 1 spot today, we have a water crisis. Water is obviously something that is necessary to sustain life here on Earth, and although it may not seem like it, there is a limited amount of it. This prediction has to do with water, or more so, the lack of it. It is predicted that in 2022, because of a multitude of reasons that includes increases in population as well as river pollution, that we will soon be seeing a lack of drinking water. It is unclear exactly who they think this will affect the most, but it's a really scary thought regardless. It has long been predicted that we will one day be fighting each other for the little drinkable water we have left, and the closer we get to that being a reality is pretty terrifying. I think it's pretty safe to say that we can all likely agree that this would be a very bad scenario for people to be in, but I also think it's important that we acknowledge how many people there are who currently don't have any access to clean or running water. This isn't a new problem, unfortunately, and I really wish we could be predicting the opposite of this one.
Starting off this countdown, we have the man from 2236. So apparently there are a number of time travelers on TikTok. One of them being a person that goes by the username @RealTikTokTimeTraveler. And they have to be a real time traveler because they have real in their username. Anyways, they have a number of eerie predictions. One of them being that in September of 2022, a celebrity that is dead is going to come back to life. Sort of. Apparently this celebrity faked his death, so by September it will be revealed that he is still alive. Now this got many people thinking. They think it could be anyone from Tupac to Michael Jackson, even XXXTentacion. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if this comes true. And if it is true, who do you think it is? In our 9th spot, we have the Omega variant. By now, we all want things to go back to normal, but it seems like we might never see normal again, especially since this next time traveler claims that by April 19th of this year, there will be a new strain Omega. Now, with how fast this virus is mutating, it's not hard to believe that soon another strain will rear its ugly head. But what is scary is that they said this strain will be 5 times worse than all other strains. So much for being hopeful. Time to lock myself in a room and never come out. Moving on to number 8, we have the aliens. Now, a number of time travelers claim that soon our world will be taken over by aliens. Let's take a look at TikToker Aesthetic Time Warper, for example. He has shared a number of videos saying that he is a time traveler from the year 2714. And last year he made a prediction that on September 11th of 2022, he says, and I quote, "An alien takes 4,000 skilled workers and children to the planet Proxima b as a result of another hostile species coming here." But that did not come true. Unless it did come true and we just didn't know that people went missing. Like the aliens wiped our memory of them or something, who knows. Moving on to number 7, we have the alien civilization. So the alien predictions don't stop there. A different self-proclaimed time traveler claims that by August of 2022, an alien civilization will be discovered on Earth. Apparently there is an underground alien race living on Earth, and in 4 months they are going to make themselves known to us. In fact, August 2nd is the exact date that they shared with the world. So, on August 2nd, get ready for alien life to be exposed once and for all. My only hope is that if this is real, that the aliens are chill. I mean, if they've been living underground for all this time, like, why haven't they made their presence known earlier? I'm a little scared to find out why. Coming in at number 6, we have the volcano eruption. So what I'm learning from this video is that 2022 is going to be one hell of a year, because not only are we encountering aliens, but we will be faced with a series of volcanic eruptions. Maybe the aliens are coming to our rescue. Now, good news. One of the time travelers said a volcano eruption would occur on March 15th. And that date has passed, and no volcano has erupted, thank gosh. But they also said that one is going to occur on June 22nd, so hopefully they'll be wrong about that one as well. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the war. Another time traveler believes that in 2022 a war will break out between the US and North Korea. They said it would start on March 22nd, which thankfully it did not happen. So hopefully they were just full of crap and making all this stuff up. But I will say, this prediction conveniently released when North Korea was caught test firing a number of missiles. And then Kim Jong-un told military officials to be ready to mobilize troops, so help me. If there's a World War III, I'm done. I can't handle it. But like I said, this prediction was false as we are now in April, so hopefully it just never comes true. In our 4th spot, we have the sea levels rising. Global warming is a very serious issue. At this point, scientists have predicted that in a couple of years, major cities will be underwater. Well, a time traveler who goes by the name Edward claims that he got sent to the future. So according to Edward, he was part of a top secret experiment that took place in 2004. During the test, he was successfully transported in time. He was taken to LA 5,000 years in the future. And it's not looking too good. He said, and I quote, "I was standing on a huge wooden platform, and after I realized it was the same city, Los Angeles, but underwater." This man's claims were actually backed up with evidence, as he took a photo of LA underwater. Good thing he packed his underwater camera with him. I don't know. But the image is pretty blurry, but it appears to be an aerial view of LA underwater. At least we won't be around in 5,000 years. In our third spot today, we have more aliens. So another self-proclaimed time traveler who goes by the name Noah also had a prediction about aliens. Noah claims that he is from the year 2030 and he got sent back in time to 2018. He then decided to share what life is like in 2030. And according to him, by 2030, the government will reveal that time travel is real, and we will encounter alien beings. Honestly, all these time travelers contradict themselves, so I doubt that this is real, okay? Again, unless these aliens are friendly. Like, if they're chill, then that's cool by me. In our second spot, we have the massive sea creature. By now, you should realize just how massive and mysterious the ocean is. I mean, we've done a million videos on the ocean, but still, only 5% of the ocean has been discovered. In fact, scientists predict that there are anywhere from a few 100,000 to more than 10 million undiscovered sea creatures. But by September 17th, 2022, we could discover one of these creatures. This time traveler claims that on that date, the largest creature to date will be found in the ocean, the Kieran Cronan, which is a large sea creature in Scottish Gaelic folklore. This beast is so large that it once ate 7 whales in one go. It is over 4 times the size of a blue whale. And not only that, it can disguise itself as a smaller fish to fool fishermen. So they're like, oh yeah, look at the fish I caught, and then all of a sudden, this beast emerges and swallows the fisherman right up. So maybe everyone should avoid fishing in any large bodies of water on September 17th. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the human chimpanzee. For those of you that haven't heard, a number of scientists have been doing experiments on chimps to try and make a human-chimp hybrid, aka the humanzee. And maybe scientists have succeeded. On September 26 of 2021, a time traveler revealed that a chimp gained the power to talk as scientists successfully managed to mutate its vocal cords. The scariest part is that it said that the chimp had some mysterious things to say. But again, this time has come and gone, and I haven't heard anything about a talking chimp. So either it has happened and the government is just hiding it, or it's false news. But I will say, it won't surprise me if this prediction does come true in the future.
Kicking off our list at number 10, artificial intelligence. This one sounds silly, but we're actually quite close to Ultron in real life. Nice. We have robots that do parkour. You can push these things around and they'll still continue to do their little silly robot walk. Robots are so scary. Now, imagine Siri if she decided to go rogue one day and take over the body of one of these Boston Dynamic parkour robots. Then what? It's game over. I've seen iRobot, okay? I don't want any part of this future. According to CB Insights, where they asked 52 experts, they all agreed that AI will eventually be our downfall, and by that time it'll be too late. Even the late Stephen Hawking said AI would be impossible to control. Elon Musk, he's been reinforcing how crucial it is right now to regulate AI. We can't regulate technology that we can't predict. Elon Musk. Number 9. Apophis. Yeah, we thought the world was going to end in 2012 and the Mayan calendar tipped us off, thank you for that. But luckily nothing happened. They even made a movie about it. John Cusack got a paycheck all for nothing. All because of the Mayan calendar. Well, we might be seeing another disaster movie in 8 years, with the asteroid Apophis coming close. It's in the category of potentially hazardous asteroids, and on April 13th, 2029, it's gonna barely miss Earth in its passing. And around 2 billion people will be able to witness the possible end with their naked eye. Yeah, it's that close. An asteroid might hit us on Friday the 13th in 2029. Scientists were actually unsure about if this thing would hit or not, and even to this day, Earth's gravitational pull may just influence this near miss. So it might actually hit us. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Number 8. Yellowstone National Park. Nothing like a big old volcano to shake up your day. Sweet. The super volcano rumbling under Yellowstone National Park could wipe out millions any second. It's exploded 3 times in the past. Once 2 million years ago, once 1 million years ago, and then once 664,000 years ago. And the next one, well, could happen as soon as you click like and subscribe. Yeah, could happen right now. Back in 2014, a team of researchers laid out what an erupting Yellowstone would actually look like in real life, and it's horrifying. It's massive. Entire states would be gone just like that. Hot magma would rain down as far as San Francisco, so it'd be Pompeii all over again. And on top of all that chaos, volcanic ash would cover most of our sunlight, so bye-bye crops and tan lines. It would be a dark and cold world for a little while. They of course had a Yellowstone scene in the movie 2012, the classic John Cusack one I just mentioned. And while it's cinematic, I guess, it would be a lot louder and way faster, okay? Number 7. True Way. There was a UFO religion from Taiwan that predicted the end of the world. True Way religion mixes Christianity, Buddhism, Taiwanese folk religion, and UFO conspiracy theories all balled into one to create this way of belief. And their leader, Han Ming-chen, believed that the end of the world was near. He preached that God himself would appear on US national television, on channel 18, very specific, on March 25th, 1988, all to announce that he would be returning to Earth in the following week. The following year, he preached that millions of devil spirits, as well as massive floodings, would result in the mass extinction of the human population. It sounded pretty alarming, of course, but Han Ming-chen had a plan to save those who followed him and his beliefs. He told his followers that to save themselves from this horrible fate, they could pay to board a spacecraft disguised as a cloud that would then be sent to rescue them. Number 6. Harold Camping. Harold here was obsessed with trying to predict the end of the world. He publicly predicted the end of the world at least 12 times, and he even published a book in 1992 titled 1994, where of course he predicted that the world would end sometime around that year. Now, seeing as I was born that year, I'd say we're all good 27 years later. He based his predictions on biblical numerology, but it wasn't exactly accurate. His most high-profile prediction of the end of the world was May 21st, 2011, exactly 7,000 years after the biblical flood. But when that day passed and everything was, still not submerged in seawater, he readjusted his prediction, saying that his math was actually off and the world would actually end on October 21st, 2011 instead. Number 5. Sun gamma bursts. Our sun is hot. She's bumping, she's keeping us alive, getting us, well, certainly not me, still pale in August, but she's helping out some of us. The northern lights are a fun result from cosmic activity, but can we handle any more than that beauty? When we look at extinction level events like, say, a meteor hitting the planet, we can bounce back from that, right? Not dinosaurs, but humans, sure, we have a fighting chance. When it comes to gamma rays hitting the planet, that's kind of it, guys, not gonna lie to you. Unless you're the Incredible Hulk and you soak it all up, you're not gonna have a pleasant go. Gamma rays happen when stars explode in distant galaxies. Light and energy then shoots out, along with radio waves, neutrinos, and gamma rays, just a cosmic confetti of all shapes and sizes, and all that good space stuff travels light years through space, and if they were to hit Earth, our ozone would just be toast forever. We would be engulfed in a chemical smog. Number 4. Passing asteroids. On August 16th, 2020, a small asteroid shot past our planet, barely 3,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. That's really close. God, how did we not hear about this more? We may not even see it coming either. That's the scary thing. This August asteroid was only discovered a few hours after it made its close call to Earth. So even if it did hit Earth, we wouldn't even, there'd be no tip-off. We would just all of a sudden not exist. So that's probably ideally the best way to go. I don't know. Number 3. Millerism. Religious leader William Miller started preaching in 1831 that the world was going to end. According to him, the end times would come within the second coming of Christ and that he would return in 1843. This prediction led Miller to gaining 100,000 followers, in real life of course, and they believed that in the end, they too would be carried off to heaven with William Miller. Nice, just how we want to go. Obviously, the world didn't actually end in 1843. Miller recalculated, and instead, he then predicted that the end of the world and Jesus' second coming would happen the following year, in 1844. Documents were found on one of Miller's followers who wrote about his experience waiting for the predicted events to unfold, and he seemed a little upset that nothing happened. It's kind of funny to look back on. The follower, a man named Henry Emmons, wrote, and I quote, "I waited all Tuesday, and dear Jesus did not come. I lay prostrate for 2 days without any panic, sick with disappointment." End quote. Number 2. A Great Fire. Back in the 1600s, London saw quite the blaze, and it was predicted long before, as are most of these catastrophic events. The Great Fire of 1666. Nice, 666, double, nice, hit that subscribe button. In the Bible, it references the number 666 as the number of the beast, living in the depths below. So many Christians in Europe at the time, back in the 1600s, believed that the world was going to end in 1666. It's kind of like our version of the Mayan calendar debacle in 2012. The thing is, the Great Fire actually happened that year. Yeah, September 2nd is September 5th. The blaze destroyed the city, including 87 churches and 13,000 homes. Many saw this as the prophecy of the end of the world coming true, but on the bright side of all this, pun not intended, with all the property damage, the death toll for this great fire was relatively low. Only 10 people died, which is actually insane when you think about it. And finally, number 1, the Great Flood. This one is most likely how we will meet our collective demise. Here we go. Hope you got your water wings. Back in the 1500s, German mathematician and astrologer Johann Staufler predicted that a great flood would cover the world and result, of course, in the death of humanity and all of our loved ones as we know it. He even pinpointed a date, February 25th, 1524. This was when all the planets would be aligned under Pisces, which was a water sign, so you obviously see where I'm heading with this one. Soon after he made this prediction, hundreds of pamphlets were spread around warning of this great flood, and as you can imagine, this caused immediate panic. A German nobleman believed this, maybe a little too much, and he gathered all of his resources to build a 3-story ark. He went full-on Noah for this doomsday prediction. He had a 3-story ark built, and in the end though, when the day of February 25th, 1524 arrived, it rained. And that's about it. Yeah, it was a light one at most. No flooding going on here.
Number 10. Interactive holograms. The season 11 episode Bart to the Future has been one of the most mentioned Simpsons episodes when it comes to predictions. It helps that it takes place in 2030, which at the time I'm recording this is still 8 years away. If YouTube is still around then and you're watching to see if any of these came true, let me know in the comments. I promise that I'll check. The episode most notably correctly predicted that Donald Trump would become president, but there were some other things that have yet to happen that could mean trouble for us in the future. In the beginning of the episode, Bart is watching Itchy and Scratchy, the gory version of Tom and Jerry, but instead of on the TV, he is watching a 3D hologram. While these are close to becoming a reality with the likes of Tupac and even Homer himself being shown as holograms on stages, a 3D hologram that is interactive is far from our capabilities right now. The scary part of this is when blood gets sprayed all over the walls of the Simpson home from the cartoon. While the idea of an interactive hologram is cool, in practice I think that it could provide some real nightmare fuel. Before we get to our next entry, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you're enjoying the video so far. Number 9. Virtual takeover. I'm a lover of VR. You know, my headset probably gets the most use out of all of my gaming consoles, so I love the idea of VR becoming more immersive, and we're making some huge strides, like haptic technology that allows us to feel things happening in the virtual world, or full body and face capture technology to allow realistic bodies and movement in games. But one thing that is yet to happen that could be on the way is a mass adoption of VR on the scale of what happens in season 28 episode 2, where Mr. Burns discovers VR and the whole town of Springfield is using it to a point of near societal collapse. While virtual reality allows for some amazing things to happen and augmented and mixed reality have some more practical non-gaming applications, it's not out of the realm of possibility for us all to be walking around with some sort of crazy device strapped to our heads in the future that allows us to change the world we see. But the implications of losing touch with reality can be massive, and the episode proves it. So let's hope that if VR takes off like I think it can, that we keep our feet on the ground and in touch with the real world around us, and take the goggles off from time to time, or we'll forget to take care of our actual reality. Number 8. Hologram trees. The episode Lisa's Wedding from season 6 takes place in 2010, 15 years from 1995 when the episode was released, and unsurprisingly many of the predictions of the future have yet to come to pass, like Big Ben being replaced with a digital interface. But one that we should definitely not want to happen is the hologram trees that we see. While the thought of being able to switch from coniferous to deciduous at the drop of a hat is pretty fun, if they're just aesthetic, we could be in a world of trouble. Trees filter CO2 from our air and give us back oxygen, which is pretty nice of them. And unless the holograms have some CO2 scrubbing tech to come with them, replacing real ones with projections will have a dramatic impact on our atmosphere. We can already see the beginnings of this with deforestation, so let's focus on our real arborist friends rather than holographic ones. Number 7. Robot Rebellion. Them Robot was the 17th episode of the 23rd season, and in it we see Mr. Burns replacing all of his employees with robots except Homer to save costs. But one seems to be developing a personality when it understands Homer's working hard or hardly working joke. Homer eventually messes with the robots so much that they ignore the laws of robotics and attempt to kill Springfield residents. Obviously this would spell disaster in the real world as it does in the show, and we're moving towards more and more automation in the workplace, allowing humans to work less dangerous jobs and eventually allowing us to hopefully spend more time living life than working our time away. But we are nowhere near that point yet. The Simpsons dabbles with the idea a few times, like in the episode Itchy and Scratchy Land, where the animatronics gain sentience and attack parkgoers, a la Five Nights at Freddy's. AI gaining sentience has been the device of science fiction horror stories for such a long time, but it's becoming closer and and closer to a real-life issue. Heck, there's even a robot named Sophia with AI so advanced that she was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia. I don't want to deal with real-life Cybermen when the Cyberium takes over, so maybe we should slow down on the whole giving robots consciousness thing. Number 6. French fiasco. The French have been an ally to the Western world for the entirety of modern history, but in Treehouse of Horror 8, all of that is thrown out the window when Mayor Quimby makes an apparently offensive frog's legs joke and refuses to apologize, telling them to do their worst. Even Marge joins in on the jabs by saying, "You know how unpredictable the French are. One minute they're kissing a woman's hand, the next they're chopping off her head." Well, the French president didn't take too kindly to this and starts a war by launching a neutron bomb that levels the town, leaving Homer as the last person alive in all of Springfield, and we all know that leaving Homer alone is a terrible idea. Now, it should be painfully obvious why France launching missiles aimed at the US would be something we don't want to happen, but that's not the only scary prediction from this episode. Number 5. Teleportation. In Fly vs. Fly, the second story in this episode, Homer buys a teleportation pod from Professor Frink for 50 cents. A damn good deal if you ask me, but maybe too good to be true, as the rest of the episode shows some of the terrors that could come with this tech. Instantly arriving somewhere else on the Earth after simply stepping into a pod has been a dream of many scientists for centuries, and the practical applications would change society as we know it. And there have been some crazy advancements, like the Chinese scientists who teleported particles to a satellite in space. But in the episode, we get a warning of the dangers that could lie ahead, with reference to the classic science fiction horror, The Fly. We see the loyal Simpson pets, Santa's Little Helper, and Snowball 2 becoming merged together Cronenberg style, and Bart gets the idea to turn into a superhero with the power of flight by merging with a fly. Clearly he didn't see what happened to Jeff Goldblum, but life finds a way. And Bart and the fly switch heads when their DNA is merged together, leading to the horror show of what the family has to deal with. I don't know about you, but I don't plan on mixing my DNA with any other creatures, so until that's sorted out, I'll stick with the TARDIS. Number 4. Colonization of Mars. Season 27, episode 16 has the Simpsons signing up to be some of the first colonizers of the Red Planet, albeit somewhat unwillingly, and eventually their trip turns out to be a scam perpetrated by the scientists, whose rocket fails to start, and when they try to flee the scene, their car can't start either. But at the end of the episode, we get a time jump to 2051 and see them actually living on Mars, though Lisa now wants to leave and move to Venus, which would be an absolutely horrible idea. Though the idea of Mars colonization is thrown around all the time these days, the thought that we may have to use it as a necessity when we finish destroying this planet is not a future I look forward to, but I mean, I'd probably go. Would you? Number 3. The dome. The main plot device in the Simpsons movie comes in the form of a giant dome encapsulating the entire town of Springfield after pollution has led to mutations in local wildlife, and not just the three-eyed fish near the nuclear plant. Stephen King actually released his novel turned TV series Under the Dome in 2009, 2 years after the Simpsons movie debut. Another prediction, perhaps? While the idea is incredibly silly, we have seen in the past few years that quarantine can become a reality for us, albeit without the impenetrable dome, but who knows, maybe in the future this could become a real thing to stop environmental disasters from getting out of hand, like catching a hurricane in a bottle or something. Ridiculous, I know, but let's just hope we never have to use it. Number 2. Time travel. People assume that time is a strict progression from cause to effect, but actually from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. And the Simpsons have dabbled with time travel many times over their 34 seasons, but in Treehouse of Horror 5, we get a glimpse of what is commonly known as the butterfly effect. I know Ashton Kutcher's ears just pricked up when I said that. Time travel could have insane implications on the human race, but there are multiple theories on how it would work. Maybe if you went to the past, you would create an entirely new timeline where things are different, or maybe nothing is able to be changed at all because time is constant and what has happened has always happened. But in the episode, we see that Homer's small changes in the past with his time-traveling toaster bring massive consequences forward, like Flanders ruling the world, people becoming giants, and even the world having no knowledge of donuts. So, if time travel becomes a reality, and maybe it already has in the future, we need to be careful not to mess with anything, or we risk losing everything. And finally, we reach our number 1, mini black hole. In Treehouse of Horror 23, the town of Springfield begrudgingly builds a particle reactor instead of a baseball stadium and creates a tiny black hole, which swallows up a few residents before Lisa can move it to her basement for safekeeping. After she warns the family to not throw anything into it, lest it grow bigger, they do exactly that, and it becomes massive and swallows everything in its path, taking the townsfolk to an alternate dimension where aliens worship the trash they disposed of in the hole. Black holes are scary enough on their own, let alone what would happen if one was to pop up on Earth, already surrounded by matter it could consume. So hopefully this prediction prediction never happens, or we wouldn't know what hit us until we were spaghettified, which is an actual scientific term describing what would happen if you fell into a black hole. You would be stretched infinitely thin as you were pulled across the event horizon, and since time is affected by gravity, it would last an infinite amount of time. Spaghettification, your new word of the week.